And start with our presenter now. So thank you, Kapono Kekela, for joining us with the Hawaiʻi Island Fentanyl Task Force. I know you just had your annual conference again, so the summit was awesome. I mean, how many, what 5 years, 4 years, 5 years, I think now. So anyway, go ahead and get started. Do you want to share screen, or are you just gonna?
Yeah, please, if that's possible.
Okay,
I'm gonna fill it up real quick.
yeah, go ahead. Thank you.
Yeah, this might be repetitive for some of you because I see a lot of familiar faces and a lot of huge support of our task force and task force members. So please bear with me. Should have done this from my laptop. Okay, 1 second. Oh, no. So I'm gonna waste my first part. No, I'm just kidding. I have a video to share. Oh, wait. Please accept my request. Post. Thank you. All right. Can you folks see my screen?
Yes.
Okay. So I'm starting with a video. It kind of wraps, or it'll kick us off for the presentation. Hopefully it plays. How about, is the audio good?
You know, the task force was actually born out of urgency.
We are in the midst of the worst drug crisis in U.S. history. The drug is fentanyl.
Fentanyl. So what is fentanyl? Fentanyl overdoses.
79 people died of fentanyl.
Fentanyl use has exploded in Hawaii. Less than a year ago, a 14-year-old on Hawaiʻi Island lost her life due to a fentanyl overdose. And synthetic opioid-related arrests continue to rise.
In 2020, when I was working for the Hawaiʻi Island Community Health Center, we noticed an increase in people coming in for substance abuse treatment. Their tests showed traces of fentanyl. And then, of course, with the death of a 14-year-old girl from Kealakea High School, called many of us, including myself, to arm about we got to do something to help our community.
It hit us hard. We had a couple deaths. Youngsters, children, basically, overdosing by accident. People struggle with mental health. They self-medicate with, drugs, and that's the result. So I felt, I took it personal, and I felt like, we gotta come together. And so, we connected with the right partners, the right community groups, along with state and county and the federal government to finalize a plan.
Well, I felt that if we're going to get involved in this movement here, we got to look for ways to engage our community so we can sustain the effort over a long period of time.
In the year 2023, in July, where BISAC became the fiscal sponsor of the task force. The task force did receive funding from the opioid settlement funds, which trickled in from the feds. So we have about 50 plus members that have been ongoing supporters. But I think what the money has helped us do is really reach rural underserved areas, also provide education and training at various locations so that we're able to get our messaging out there.
I think what sets the task force apart from other responses to an epidemic such as fentanyl is the collaboration between the agencies and the community.
A community that understands what it wants and has its own voice will always succeed. And I think some of the success of the task force is that we have been a community organization where it trickles up and not trickling down. It belongs to us.
We're taking not just a punitive approach, which has traditionally been the approach. Our side is more prevention, education. You know, letting people know that this is preventable and we can do this through education.
Well, our mission has been to educate and raise awareness amongst our communities, prepare them to respond in emergency overdose situations, and to shed light on the epidemic of opioid misuse in hopes of preventing more deaths. We started with formal presentations in the school. We love being in our communities at pop-ups, distributing naloxone.
So naloxone is a nasal spray that, if administered in a timely manner, can actually temporarily reverse the effects of an opioid overdose. So the sooner you administer your naloxone, the better chance they have of surviving. The good thing about naloxone is it will never cause any harm to anyone. So if it's not an opioid crisis, you have nothing to worry about. Naloxone saves lives. And so the more we can get that into the community's hands, the better. What has surprised me is the amount of community members that come up to you and thank you for volunteering your time. They all tell you different stories about losing someone that is really close to them.
If we know what addiction is, and we understand that these are good people with a bad disease, then we can care for them. And many of them need that because we've ostracized them in society as losers. And there's some great people. And when you start meeting people in recovery that have been through this hell, you meet them, you go, wow, this is a miracle. It's a miracle of caring. It's a miracle of heart to heart that somebody cares.
If you really, really care for your community and you call your community your home, get involved. As Michael Punas once told me, you got to turn your hand over. You can't always say, give me, give me, give me. You got to turn your hand over and give back in any way that you can to make your community a safer and better place for not only this generation, but for the 7 generations to come.
We will never solve this problem with Narcan. We'll never solve this problem with treatment. We'll never treat our way out of this epidemic. We will never incarcerate our way out of it. We will never bury our way out of it. We've got to go upstream and think of prevention. And that starts with education, prevention, awareness. And then we've got to make sure we fund treatment programs, that they're accessible, that they're culturally appropriate, that we don't stigmatize drug use and the people that use drugs. And then we've got a shot at this.
Okay, so I wanted to show that off because with the excitement, like Les said, of our 5th annual summit, we forgot to play it for the task force. So you guys are getting a sneak peek right now. I'm trying to get over to the next slide. Sorry. But that's basically kind of gives you an idea of how we got, why we got started, how we engaged community. Sorry, now it's gonna freeze my computer. Okay, 1 second.
Come on. Culturally appropriate.
Okay, no, sorry. All right, well, I'm gonna go without a slide. Or without slides. Sorry, but I had nice pictures and whatnot. And if I can get it going again, I will. Oh, here we go. So anyways, my name's Kapono Kekela. I'm with the Hawaiʻi Island Fentanyl Task Force. Like I said, a lot of you have been critical to our success over the last 5 years. And yeah, we're just a community coalition of state, county, practitioners, medical providers, and community organizations really focused on fighting the opioid crisis and preventing more deaths amongst our youth or our communities in general. But basically, the task force got started, like Uncle mentioned, when a 14-year-old, we actually had a few that year. So sadly, a few teenagers passed who were inadvertently exposed to fentanyl and lost their lives. But it actually triggered the community to take matters into their own hands, and thus our Hawai'i Island Fentanyl Task Force was formed. A little shorts timeline in 2022, with the help of Hawai'i Island Community Health Center, we were able to start our naloxone distributions. At first, we did just education and awareness, thanks to Mira Alameda, who led the way on that. Since his parting in 2023, we were able to get help from BISAC as a umbrella nonprofit to help kind of take advantage of the opioid settlement funds. If some of you don't know what that is, pharmaceutical company got sued. They had to pay out millions of dollars in fines. Got split up between the 50 states. Hawaii got a portion of that, and then concurrently, each county got a portion of that. So, give me a second. I'm gonna try to get back on this presentation, if that's okay. Okay, are we there? And as of present, we're continuing to focus on overdose education, awareness, and prevention. Can you focus on my screen?
Yes, we can.
Okay.
Yes.
And then our mission is to reduce demand and supply of illicit drugs through our help with HPD and our federal administration, the DEA. And then through education and prevention, harm reduction, and recovery support activities. Our vision is a community that is aware, informed, and empowered to prevent addiction, drug overdose, and other consequences of drug use on Hawai'i Island. And then you might recognize some of these folks. This is actually our leadership team. Mine is Dr. Kev, who is a huge advocate and kind of the brains behind our operation, but he since then has retired, and we have not been able to weasel him back in. So he's officially retired, but you have Uncle Wally, Dr. Hannah, who's our overall leadership, who is the community, or the outlook into the community and insight behind what it takes to continue our efforts. We have Aaron, who's been a part of our team since the beginning, but now is our county connection with the Office of the Mayor. And then you have me and Mitch, who tag teamed Hawai'i Island, so that way there's a collective approach to connecting all our rural communities and our main, or hotspots we consider, where we've seen an increase of, or not increase, excuse me, but where we've seen majority of the overdoses. And then our community media team, which is Amelia and Cole, who gracefully put that video together for us. Okay. Task force meets regularly. Leadership team every week, just to kind of our huge. We had a summit just recently, so a lot of that goes into effect, or goes into a lot of the planning for these meetings. Logistics as pop-up events. We had educational presentations coming up with Kalakaua High School and then Hilo. We are made up of committees, kind of like the Consortium and J League, to get more community input around different components or objectives, excuse me, and focus areas, which I'll share in a little bit. The full task force tries to meet quarterly, which we did back in February, and then we have other meetings as needed for summit planning, project review, and then even for opportunities of collaboration. And then, of course, an annual summit and biannual awareness walk. And I forgot to put sign waving in there. Okay, and then these are the committees I mentioned. As of 2025, we've taken a shift. We used to offer, we had 6 committees, but we kind of, based on the work that we've completed over the past 4 years prior to this year, we've identified that we have strengthened 5 different committees. So the 5 that we chose, or excuse me, Well, four, we're continuing to push is data analysis and evaluation, of course, harm reduction, education and prevention, recovery support, and then the newest is the legislative advocacy, and then I will show why in the next few slides. As of 2021, we've conducted over 500 educational sessions in schools and at community events. I forgot to put businesses. We do offer host trainer sessions, working with community organizations and government agencies, and that's on training of naloxone administration and fentanyl awareness, and then more education and training and supplying of naloxone for local businesses, restaurants, youth serving organizations, and community groups. And then more of legislative advocacy, working with our county, state, and federal legislators, also educating them on the opioid crisis and how they can support meaningful legislative measures. Okay. Community engagement has been a huge success or a huge part of our success. Thanks to Jay Lee, we got to participate in the past outreach, gave out over 40 kits in the naloxone and some snacks. But that's a good way to stay in the community and helps us further prevent the deaths due to overdose. Okay, and we collaborate with our first responders. Picture here of us supplying HPD, so with Narcan, or naloxone. So every patrol car can have a kit on hand, which has been huge because I've seen officers administer Narcan last night actually near Target. And then we collaborate with local clinics and medical providers island-wide to provide resources. Say the Kumukai is a huge partner with their syringe exchange program. Same with Hawai'i Harm Reduction or Hawai'i Health and Harm Reduction Center. They also do harm reduction efforts in our community. So we're always trying to point people in the right direction. Say they need treatment, they need housing. We're just a conduit because everybody's doing great work and it's a community-led effort. Like I said, sign waving has been very effective at raising awareness. Most recently, we tag teamed with East Hawaii Drug Free Coalition during Alcohol Awareness Week. But it's not a fun fact, but the fact that alcohol is potentiated to opioid use is one of the reasons we get involved, because that kind of speeds up the process of overdose or the symptoms of overdose. And partnering with community organizations and faith-based groups to do outreach to our high-risk individuals in the community. A lot of community education and awareness does happen at our pop-ups. We host about 12 pop-ups a month where we distribute about 1,500 naloxone kits each time. And then over the span of 4 years, since 2021, we've already, it's a little over 35,000 naloxone kits. And that's only on Hawai'i Island. We do operate 4 vending machines in Hilo, thanks to our partners YSAC, YMCA, H3RC, and then most recent, Caris Hawaii, because they have a vending machine as well. These are some of the handouts that we do offer, and the QR code will take us to our take you to our resource page online. But it's just basic info of the task force and how we got started, things we were doing in the community, updates on committee work. Of course, you got to have the quick and easy steps to administer naloxone, and it also gives you a brief but important education on Good Samaritan law and your protection against liability to render aid. And that seems to help ease a lot of people's pains and makes it easier for them to want to assist. And then, of course, how to recognize an overdose, thanks to H3RC and Papaola Kahi. just some pictures here of our annual summit, and the summit's a great opportunity to gather the entire task force and interested parties from across the state to network, collaborate. Each theme, or since I've got started in 2022, we've tried to kind of theme our summits. So this year was the intersection between mental health and substance use through a Native Hawaiian perspective. Last year we had a youth committee that planned the summit, so it was like opioid centered and how they are affected by substance use in their generation. And then yeah, so every year we're trying to tailor it to more audiences in hopes of attracting more people to join. And some other task force activities, and we just recently published an op-ed with thanks to Community First Hawai'i. It's just to run a story, or to run the story of our kind of the presentation I'm giving you today, condensed in an op-ed, and it was very effective, and hopefully we reached a lot of people. It was at the Tribune Herald, so fingers crossed on that. This year we're coming up on our 5-year plan, or an update of our 5-year strategic plan. So we'll be talking story with task force members to get their Mahalo and insight onto as to what can be done further to keep the not necessarily the momentum, but the work going. And then we're host. So one of the things that we had kind of talked about at our quarterly meeting was the opportunity to help our workforce. So kind of what I shared in Career Pathways, we have some upcoming events for prevention and ethics training with accreditation by ADAD to help those seeking to be like licensed mental health workers or certified substance abuse counselors. Because I forgot, I said something real deep in the Career Pathways thing, but basically there's no story, like a lived experience that is effective at kind of combating the problem. It's still better at the Career Pathways, but it takes lived experience to be able to kind of understand and then treat the issue, if that makes sense. And then before we ever established a legislative committee, we were actually working on legislative measures. And one of the bills that we did get passed as an entire task force was Senate Bill 671, which is decriminalizing fentanyl test strips and accessibility. So made it free access to test strips for those in the community. We were passing them at pop-ups at one point, but now we're just working with treatment providers to be able to provide them with those. House bill, or this is one of the bills that didn't make it last year or last session, House Bill 1855, which was buprenorphine access. For those that are unfamiliar, after you get Narcan or after you get naloxone administered, you start to develop symptoms of withdrawal, and buprenorphine is a known medication to help kind of stymie those withdrawals, so that way people keep their wits. And then our hopes was to have them seek further treatment after after one getting resuscitated and not feeling like crap. But that House bill didn't pass the changeover. But we got further insight from our Department of Health, from first responders, how we can actually make it more effective so that it may pass next session. And then our most recent success was Hawaii County Council Bill 71, requiring liquor serving establishments and restaurants to house naloxone on premises, thanks to our harm reduction committee. And our chair is Tui. Oh, and then, like I said, we got a few trainings. If you're interested, I could share this info later, but here's just like a glimpse of prevention and ethics trainings coming up to further your career. Continued education units, so that way, you know, it's another way to bring community together, and collaborate, and then just also, sharpen the tools that we already have to better serve our community. And I think this is the last. So, yeah, our winning formula has been building partners and, continuing to rely on community, because it's like, takes a village, right? So I believe in that same concept where it's going to take a collective community to combat anything, because it might be fentanyl now, but it could be something different later. And I think that's it for my presentation. Sorry, I tried to stay within time. So if you guys got any questions, I'm open to answering questions.
Yeah,
Hopefully I
thank you. Thank you, Kapono. He's going to be opening up for questions now. So